Greetings and welcome to the devlog number 13 of our medieval adventure and dark fantasy game. I am Mark, and that's right, we are still here, and despite some interruptions, we bring you the progress in our new system of tasks for NPCs, various adjustments in our logic of projectiles and line of sight, and now we can also throw pigs around. All of these coming up next. Well, it turns out that the summer brought more distractions than we had considered. Distant friendships, family reunions, and various social events have kept us from our project, and although it is true that we enjoyed these events a lot, and that I think that it was necessary to disconnect a little from the project, I really miss working fully on the development of the game. And although it has been difficult to maintain consistency, as you can witness from the date of the previous video, we have continued to work from time to time with the following results. We had previously commented on the importance of influencing or creating distractions in our NPCs or enemies, and if we want to stay true to the setting of the game and move the option of combat to a secondary plane, suitable for a young protagonist, we have to provide enough alternatives that, apart from being interesting, are more rewarding than constantly resorting to violence. The first of these tools we decided would be to create bait to attract and distract creatures, so that in one of our initial tutorials you could throw apples with the intention of surprising the oblivious pigs and capture them before they could escape. I initially thought to use the line of sight and combat system to present these apples as enemies and lead the pigs to attack them. It was a rather ridiculous solution that require adding the health, targeting, and other complex components to a mundane apple, but despite being a terrible idea, it led us to develop important improvements in our combat system. The first obstacle was that the creatures in our game were only divided into cowardly or aggressive, and if their line of sight detected any of their wanted tags, these tags could only be threats if our creature was cowardly, or prey if it was aggressive. We had to change our list of tags to a dictionary that allowed us to save separately which of these tags were prey and which were predators, to react in different ways to different detected creatures. In the end, we got a very interesting system of dynamic reactions, where we can indicate the priority of each NPC based on the order of the tags entered in their line of sight. In this simulation, the pigs attack the player, but have a greater fear of the thugs, and the thugs attack the pigs, but have a greater fear of the player. I don't know about you, but I can already think of quite a few interesting ways to implement this system. After being surprised with this result, I realized how ridiculous it would be to make enemies out of the apples, so I got to work on a new and completely independent task system. The general idea was somewhat more complicated, but much more promising. Similar to the patrolling state of our state machine, I would create a new state to do tasks based on locations and animations of our choice, where if the NPC has a pending task, he will walk to the designated location to perform it, run the animation of our choice for as long as our task requires, and then, if we wish, we can either destroy the task, or if it's persistent, simply move it to the end of our task list and attend to the next one. The logic is very simple, but offers countless opportunities. We use this task system to assign all the pigs at some distance from where there is an apple the task to move to its location and eat it, and we can easily trigger the method we want once this task is done. Please ignore the attack animation, we need to create an animation for the pigs to eat, but once the task time is concluded, in this case the apples get destroyed, and if the pig has no other pending task, it simply returns to its patrol route. In this other example, we assigned persistent tasks to this NPC, so instead of patrolling or standing like a dork, he can do various tasks while waiting for us to come to talk to him. Switching to the dialogue state interrupts the task, but once the conversation is closed, he returns to attend to the pending tasks. These are just some examples, but we could easily use this system for many other cases. An NPC could be used to break down a door with an axe, make them run to pour water over a fire that we just started, or pull a lever to solve a riddle, or simply just giving more life to our characters with varied tasks and animations. I had to redo all the logic of the projectiles for this to work with the apples, but either way, I didn't like how I solved the code in the first place, and now it works much better and cleaner. This now takes us to our next mechanic. So far, our main alternatives to direct combat are stealth, distractions and tasks, and our mobility mechanics, such as climbing and swimming to get away from threats. What we need now is to make sure that we integrate these in diverse and creative ways into the progression resources of our game to allow the player to discover the ways to advance to their goals as a reward for exploring the scenario and experimenting with different tools. The clearest example of scenario resources applied to mobility, stealth, distractions, and progression mechanics that come to mind are those in classic 3D Zelda games, where it was possible to use chickens to glide considerable distances and reach inaccessible places in Ocarina of Time. Or in Wind Waker, where you could hide under barrels in stealth sequences so that the cars could pass you by, and also when you use the weight of objects to press switches to open closed doors. And now also in our game, where we can distract some predators if we provide them with a pick to chase. In these cases, it was common when manipulating these resources to limit your movement somewhat, forcing you to discover alternative routes as part of the puzzle. And usually they also got reset in some way if you started combat while moving these objects. The chickens could get free and run away if you take damage. The boxes used to press switches could break if you were not careful. And some resources even had expiration time, so you could not waste time on distractions. All this aligns nicely with our intent to avoid combat. So the first thing we did was to make our improved projectiles compatible with our capture pick, added the option to drop certain items when taking damage, and added a blend tree to our carrying layer to adjust the animation based on our state machine. This way we can adjust the object's position if we are running, crouching, or swimming. And now that we can throw picks, we can also take them to elevated locations so that our mobility is not so penalized if we want to make use of these tools. Of course, we need to add many other diverse resources besides picks, but by far throwing live or dead creatures should be the most complicated aspect to implement. These were mainly the main improvements of these last weeks, in addition to all the small adjustments necessary to make them work with the rest of our existing code. But I really feel that they really expand the repertoire of our game. I thank you very much for staying with us until the end of the video. I'm thinking to, in the future, present shorts of all the future additions and improvements to our game, apart from the devlogs, to present progress more frequently during the week. But tell me what you think about it in the comment section below. And if you're interested in the project, please consider subscribing or liking the video, or follow us on Twitter or Twitch, where we also present content and share opinions. Link to all of these in the description of the video. I am Mark from Tryhard Studio. That would be everything for the moment, and I'm really excited to return fully to create content and see our game grow. But not before wishing you, as always, a lot of success in your projects, and see you soon.